Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargava. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. Ever since Mr. Shaktikanta Das has taken over as the Governor of Reserve Bank of India, there have been interest rate cuts one after the other. In June, the Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee effected the third consecutive interest rate cut of 0.25%. It brought down Reserve Bank's repo rates. It is the interest rate at which RBI lends to banks, and it is taken to be the benchmark of the interest rates in the country. In June, Reserve Bank brought down the repo rate to 5.75%, which is a 20-year low. The primary purpose of this pruning of interest rates has been to revive India's sagging economy. But despite these multiple rate cuts, the economy's growth has not resumed an upward direction. In fact, since the last rate cut in June, India has now slipped to being the seventh largest economy in the world by GDP. It was at the fifth position last year. It has slipped to the seventh position, and that's because of a combination of a slowdown in growth and currency devaluation that has occurred. So India's growth is slowing down. For the quarter ended March 2018, at 5.8%, it was the lowest growth in 17 quarters. And thereafter, the slowdown continues such that this year, it is expected that India's economy will grow by 6.5%, which is just not a satisfactory rate. So, interest rate cuts continue to be a prime tool in the hands of the government in order to seek to revive the growth of the economy. At the moment, there is yet a series of reasons why you can expect an interest rate cut when the Monetary Policy Committee of the Reserve Bank meets tomorrow. In fact, Mr. Shaktikanta Das in one of his recent interviews has already indicated that there will be an interest rate cut. He has emphasized the fact that the interest rate policy of the government Reserve Bank at the moment is accommodative. It means it is willing to accommodate the slowdown pressures of the economy, and an interest rate cut is imminent tomorrow. We think that yet another 0.25% interest rate cut can be expected from the MPC tomorrow. After this, experts say that in this financial year, yet another interest rate cut of 0.5 to 0.25% can again be expected. So we are heading towards a low interest regime, primarily because the government thinks that interest rate cuts are its main weapon in fighting the stress and slowdown in the economy. Here are the reasons why we think tomorrow there will be yet another interest rate cut of at least 0.25% to be announced by the Monetary Policy Committee. The first one, of course, is the continued slowdown in the economy. Sector after sector is facing a slowdown, whether it is automobiles, auto components, cement, surprisingly construction and pharmaceuticals and real estate also. And the government needs to bring down interest rates, hoping that the lower interest rates will help to make corporates more profitable, bring down their costs, make goods probably, if not cheaper, a little more affordable, and growth will come up. So growth is the prime reason why we think there will be a need for the RBI to bring down the interest rates. The next reason is that if interest rates come down, the cost of funds goes down. If cost of funds goes down, it is believed that corporates will be encouraged to borrow money and invest in new projects. Investments at the moment are at a 15 to 20-year low, and it is imperative for the government to ensure that fresh investments pick up. Interest rates are believed to help. If they are pruned, it is believed that they will help to revive fresh and additional investments in the economy. Yet another reason why there will be an interest rate cut tomorrow is corporate profits. Corporate profits for June quarter have been muted, have been languishing. In fact, they have got a lot of corporates nervous. Interest rates will have to be reduced in order to ensure that corporate profits get healthier. So yet another reason why you can expect it. Another reason why interest rates cuts will come is also to do with consumption demand. India's consumption has been lagging. And if money becomes cheaper, you can expect consumers to be willing to take housing loans, vehicle loans, loans for buying personal consumable durables, such that demand in the economy looks up. So interest rate cuts can be expected again for perking up consumption demand. When we talk about growth, we must mention that India's core sector growth has gone down. Core sector consists of infrastructure, electricity, oil and gas, and those sectors. The growth has gone down. Industrial production has been dipping, which again warrants an interest rate cut to ensure that money is made cheaper. Because inflation in India is below the 4% benchmark rate that the Reserve Bank has set for itself, it is still about 3.1%. Because inflation is lower still, the Reserve Bank has the flexibility to effect an interest rate cut, which we expect will come tomorrow. And lastly, India needs to encourage its export. One of the persuading factors for exports to go up is lower cost of funds. As China weakens its currency and even US has brought down its interest rates, in a competitive sense, India also has no choice but to reduce its interest rates further. So, our conclusion, tomorrow's Monetary Policy Committee expect yet another interest rate cut of 0.25%. But the flip side of all this is that if interest rate cuts keep going up, that is, interest rates go down and more cuts are effected, at some point of time, inflation will look up and the Reserve Bank will lose its flexibility to keep pruning interest rates. This will particularly happen if we have a monsoon that fails. It looks at the moment that the monsoon is making up for the lost June when it was extremely poor. But if for any reason monsoon is poor, inflation will look up and Reserve Bank will lose its flexibility for pruning interest rates further. And the most important, RBI has been pruning interest rates, but banks have not passed down this benefit of interest rate cuts to their consumers. Only about half the interest rate cut has been passed on to some consumers, say statistics. And till it is not passed on, the benefit of cutting interest rates to ensure that growth in the economy revives will never be materialized. So that remains a huge question mark. The moot question is interest rate cut the only tool that the government has in order to revive growth, or can interest rates cuts in isolation help to revive the lagging growth in India's economy? We think merely by effecting interest rate cuts, the government will not be able to revive the economy. You need structural reforms. You need reforms in land, you need reforms in labor, you need banking reforms, you need the NPA crisis to be resolved, you need ease of doing business to be eased up, and you need to attract more and more foreign investment. Till you don't do that, interest rate cuts in isolation will not help. And that is what the government needs to be concerned about. Interest rate cuts of this sort are just short-term measures. And India's growth is presently suffering because long-term reforms and initiatives have not been initiated. We do hope that the government seizes the initiative and beyond interest rate cuts, we also see reforms and policy initiatives to revive India's sagging growth. This is Akhilesh Bhargava signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
HW News Network today is a year and a half old. Thanks to your support, thanks to your love, we've grown. We require your support a little more. What we request you to do is to download our free app. Our app is in Hindi, English and Marathi. We promise to update you with the latest news, views, analysis, interview. We also have a live TV going in that. If you download our app, we will get advertisers. And if we get advertisers, we'll get revenue. We get revenue, we can serve you better. So once again, please do support us. Please download our app. Namaskar.
If you like this video, please share it, and we would love to hear your comments in the comments section down here. Also, please do like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter to get minute-to-minute news updates. For more such shows and videos, well, subscribe to our YouTube channel.